Hi, live from the Hub Studios in Atascadero. This is the Clarion Voice. This is Mark Sobowitz on a Clarion Voice, live from the Hub Studios in Atascadero. We hope that you started out your new year on the right foot, and we are too, because we are having our first interview of the year, and we would welcome you to watch. And we would like to introduce to you my new friend, Dr. Kathy Gruver, who is in Santa Barbara. And so, good morning, Kathy. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Mark? I'm doing great.
I'm doing very well, thank you. Doctor, no, Kathy, tell people a little bit about your background and let them know what you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of all things, I started out as an actress. So, I was in Hollywood for a while pursuing that fabulous, fabulous, I say in quotes, career. And then when I realized that wasn't working for me, I moved to Santa Barbara. I started a massage practice, and that grew very quickly. So, starting out as massage, I moved into things like hypnotherapy, and now I'm a life coach. I'm working on my ninth book right now, which I do swear I'm getting done this year. I said the same thing last year at this time, and it didn't happen. I lecture around the world. I've done 2 TEDx talks. And I speak mainly about stress, mindfulness, mindset, communication. I do a lot of personal and relationship coaching, and I'm looking forward to it being an amazing year. My birthday's in a couple days, so as soon as my
Well,
birthday passes, then I can
happy
jump in.
birthday ahead of time. Then, very
Thank
good.
you. Yeah. So I just love helping people, however that is, whether it's a show like this or books or speaking, or that's what I'm here for.
Okay, as a life coach, what do you find is the most effective way to help people to reduce stress?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of meditation, which is hilarious for me to say because I'm very type A. I'm very go, go, go. I grew up on the East Coast. So meditation has never been easy for me. People always told me I should meditate. You never want to start a sentence with you should because people immediately stop listening to you. So I teach something called a mini meditation. It's really simple and anybody can do it. If I can, anybody can. So big fan of that. I teach a lot of breath work. And one of the most important things in helping people deal with their stress is learning to say that very important word, which is no, and remembering that no is a complete sentence. That it's okay to pick your yeses and nos. And one of my clients this week came up with the greatest sort of mantra for her for 2023, which is, I will get to you when I'm finished with me. I was like, wow, it was one of
Fantastic.
those shower moments, right? So that came to
Yeah.
her in the shower. But I just thought, that's so brilliant. It's true. It's like so often we put everybody ahead of us, and where are we on the to-do list? So that's one of the big things also.
Okay. Now, as far as dealing with your clients, you not only do you deal with individuals, you also deal with couples, and is that correct? As a life
I
coach,
do.
what do you find is the most common problem that comes up that you have to deal with?
Well, the big one's communication, right? We expect the person to read our minds, or we don't know what we actually want. So that when we communicate that to our partner, it lands on them in a way where they're just not sure what we're looking for. I also see a lot of really outrageous expectations. And then when you have those expectations that are not communicated, they can't be met. We expect our partner to read our minds. They should have known I wanted that. Well, but you didn't say anything. If I say to you, go to the store and buy me a shirt, well, what does that mean? Like, what kind of shirt for who, what color, what size? I think we need to be clearer in our wants and in our communicating of those. And that way, those expectations aren't going to be left hanging there. That's, to me, seems to be one of the biggest issues with my couples is the communication aspect and learning to negotiate. One person wants one thing, the other wants something else. Where can you meet in the middle on that? It almost becomes a business negotiation, but it works. It's a way that they can both get what they want and have that strong relationship that they're working towards.
Is compromise part of that process?
Yeah, huge part. Absolutely. I do a lot of studying from Harville Hendricks, who wrote the book Getting the Love You Want, and I've done a couple of his courses. And, it's about living for the other person and then that other person living for the other person too. If you're both living for just one of you, that's a problem. But if you're truly like living for what the other person wants, and sometimes that is a compromise. If one person in the relationship really loves bowling and they want to bowl 3 nights a week, and the other partner's like, I don't really want to bowl. Maybe you go once a week with them, or maybe you hook them up with a league. Maybe you find friends for them to go with. Maybe you show up once a month to support them. Doesn't have to be 100%, but somewhere there's a balance in there where each person can get their needs met. And sometimes that's what the session is with them. I sit down and say, let's figure out how you can both achieve what you want. Let's see how you can both get your needs met.
When you're dealing with couples or individuals, what do you find is the most frustrating thing that you have to deal with?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's a participation thing. The very first thing I teach my couples is an appreciation exercise. And usually one of the part of the couple is so gung ho and they're ready to do it. And the other one's not so on board with it, which is very frustrating, not only for me as a coach, because it's like I'm giving you guys the tools, but you have to use them. If I hand you a hammer and you stand there not hammering in the nail, I can't help you with that. I can't do it for you. And so often one part of the couple is really excited about the exercise and the other one kind of, doesn't really participate in it. And then there's a breakdown there and it becomes this frustration. And then there's that punishment of, well, he's not doing it, so I'm not doing it kind of thing. It escalates from there. So it's really about participation. And when couples are heading into whether it's couples counseling or couples coaching, you want to make sure both of you really want to work on the relationship, because it doesn't work if only one of you is involved. You both have to be on board for that. So I think that's my biggest frustration is I see them excited in my office. I give them the tools and then they walk away and don't actually do the thing. So that's, frustrating for everybody, I think.
Is there a particular time period that you allow for working with couples or individuals?
Usually I like to do 6 to 10 sessions as sort of a let's work through this thing. I have a really specific relationship reboot program, which is 10 weeks, where I have specific exercises and specific um, tools and things that I give them that progress through to the 10 weeks. So that's an ideal amount of time. It doesn't have to be a forever thing. Some people want to continue after that, of course, but usually when you get through that 10, you're kind of in a place where things are balanced out again. I've seen couples, maybe 2 or 3 times, and it just kind of shaves the edges off so that they can, up that communication and that feel intimate again. You know, um, that tends to lack over time. People become frisky roommates at best, and they lose that communication. They lose that spark, that intimacy, and I like to help people get that back.
Okay. How has the pandemic psychology affected your business as a life coach?
Well, interesting. It's going to be the opposite of what a lot of people think. So I was still doing pretty much all massage at the time the pandemic hit. I was doing a little bit of hypnotherapy. So of course, nothing in person. So all my speaking gigs were canceled and put on Zoom, if not completely canceled. I couldn't see clients in person. So that's when I actually finished up my coaching training. I had started my certification process and I realized, hey, I have all this time sitting here in the house by myself. Let's do more training. So that's where I actually finished up my coaching stuff and really launched my practice. So for me, and that way, the pandemic was an opportunity for me to grow what I do and reach more people. So in that way, it was sort of a blessing for me.
Do you find that couples come to you with pandemic related problems that have come up?
Not so much. I think it certainly exacerbated it. If you were in a relationship that was rocky to begin with, then you found yourself sitting in the house with that person for a year or 10 months.
Hmm.
It definitely made it worse. And I think a lot of those people split. I had a couple just friends on Facebook who were literally about to separate from their partner, and then the pandemic hit. So they got stuck in this house now with them of someone who they were ready to leave anyway. So I think in that way there was a lot of individual stress. I think people who were stuck in situations where maybe they were with a narcissist or in a abusive relationship, it really upped that because there was no escape. They weren't at work. They couldn't go out with their friends. So I saw a lot of people getting really frustrated and really suffering at the hands of that. And I think it moved a lot of individuals to make a different choice. I have several clients right now who have just gotten out of a narcissistic or abusive relationship. And I think in some way the pandemic was the catalyst to that. It got
Hmm.
so bad that they're like, look, I have to go. And being in a narcissistic relationship is really, hurtful to the person that's in that relationship with them. So I'm seeing a lot more people realize that that's something we're talking about more and more, is this sort of narcissism issue. And so I'm seeing a lot of people get out of that, which is really great, and now start to put their lives back together post that relationship.
So actually, it was a benefit because it brought out issues that were sort of under the surface.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, it's not pleasant. It's not fun. It's really so hard to be in a relationship like that. But I'm seeing, like I said, people get out now, and there's a lot of community. I'm seeing a lot of articles being written, a lot of courses being offered about gaslighting and narcissistic behavior. So I'm glad it's starting to become more in the forefront to help people get out of those relationships.
Now, you mentioned earlier about meditation being something that is helpful. Are there any other things that a person who maybe not geared to meditation could use to help them with their stress?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can I teach you the mini meditation?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, dead air on the radio is never good. But just real quick, just real quick, if you're watching and you're not like in the car driving, go ahead and just close your eyes and just concentrate on your breathing. Just noticing the rise and fall of your chest. And on your next inhale, think I am. And on all of your inhales, think I am. And on your next exhale, think at peace. And on all of your exhales, think at peace. Inhale, I am. Exhale at peace. And when other thoughts intrude, that's totally okay. Just dismiss them without judgment. Just acknowledge they're there and let them float away like clouds on a summer day. And going back to the breathing and the I am at peace. And with one more inhale, I am. Exhale at peace. Go ahead and open your eyes and come back to the room.
Okay.
It's that simple. You
That's,
just
I think a lot of people need simple.
you just meditated. I learned that I can thank the people at Harvard for that. And whoever said during meditation you have to completely blank out your brain, I would like to have a talk with them, because that's impossible to do. Every 3 to 5 seconds, our brain interrupts us something that's vastly important, and if there's nothing important, it'll just make crap up. We'll notice the car alarm outside, or the bug in the room, or the itch on the face, or our brain needs that activity. And I do a lot of studying with Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about that that inner chatter that we hear all the time, and that's our ego trying to find identity. When we're in stillness and when there's nothing happening here, who are we? We don't know who we are. So that, to me, is one of the best ways to just sort of take a little break for a second. I do this in the car, not when I'm driving. Obviously, closing the eyes is bad, but you don't have to close your eyes. If I'm from the East Coast, I'm an impatient driver, and especially in Santa Barbara, where people are either older or stoned or both, it gets a little irritating. So when I get behind the guy there, the light turns yellow, and I think I'm going to go too, and he stops in front of me, I can't get out and move him. They frown on that. So why am I going to stress myself out over something that's not fight or flight worthy, right? So I take my hands off the steering wheel and I stare up at the light, and I am at peace until the light changes, and then I go. We have all these little opportunities to choose how we're going to respond or react. And I think that's one of the most important things with stress relief, is responding and not reacting. It's those knee-jerk reactions that get us in trouble. And when we actually take that pause to respond, it lessens that stress response. So that's my favorite tip.
Is that related to self-talk?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's estimated we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and that 50,000 of those are negative. That's insane. I mean, and we wonder why we're not getting the things we want, right? We want prosperity and abundance and happiness and joy and health, but all we're focused on is this negative stuff. And that's really bad for us, because the more we think negative thoughts, the more it leads to more negative thoughts. It's, this the way our brain is connected. But we have this great thing called neuroplasticity where we can change the wiring of our brain. We can actually rewire systems so that we can lead ourselves towards more positive things. Let me do a quick thing. So wherever you are, whoever's watching, look around your room and find everything you can see that's red. Remember everything that's red. Awesome. Now, close your eyes and recall everything you saw that was blue. I know
Okay.
it's drastically unfair, right? The blue stuff didn't disappear, did it? It's still there. You just weren't focused on it. And this is what happens when all we focus on is the negative. That's all we see. That's all we find. So being able to shift our perspective and start to focus on the positive stuff, we're going to find more and more positive things. This is where I love affirmations and visualization. Studies support that us shifting our focus and shifting our thinking can actually lead to more positive things, more healing, faster wound healing, prosperity, more happiness, life satisfaction, all that sort of stuff.
The problem is people move too fast. They're not willing to stop.
Yeah. Well, and that's the downside to me of cell phones, right? Because it used to be, I mean, I remember when I was living in Los Angeles, standing in line at the post office, you had two choices. You either go inward or you go outward, right? You're either talking to the person in line around you about how for the 500th time this week you're standing in line at the post office or what the weather's like or what the sports team did, or you're going inward and being just by yourself. And now what's the first thing we do? Scroll, scroll, scroll. I wonder if there's a cat video. It's like we don't have that time to pause and either connect with other fellow human beings or just connect with yourself. When we rent a car, we walk around that car with a notepad and we note every ding and every scratch because we're not getting charged for that. But we don't know our own bodies. We treat our rental car better than we treat ourselves sometimes. We don't sit in that just moment when we wake up in the morning of how am I feeling? What am I feeling? What's happening in my body right now? And then they come to a health practitioner and they have no information to share. How long has this been going on? I don't know. Where's it hurt? I don't know. We don't know ourselves. And that's one of the keys to just moving forward in a healthier way is taking that pause, taking that time to figure out how we are and who we are.
Okay. How do you do that?
It's
How
about
do you
taking,
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
it was about taking the time, right? It's about, even if you wake up in the morning and when you get into the shower, just pause for a moment and just kind of scan your body. How am I feeling? When you're brushing your teeth, what am I thinking right now? What kind of mood am I in? There's daily journals that, sort of these pre-made journals. I used to have a company that I really liked, but you'd open it up every day and it would say, what kind of mood are you in? How's your body feeling? What supplements did you take today? What thoughts are you having? For people who are journalers, it's a great journal prompt of just taking 2 minutes in the morning of how am I today? Because we ask everybody else, good morning, how you doing? But we don't actually truly ask ourselves. And then we don't think about the answer or feel the answer. We just, I'm fine. And then we leave it at that.
Okay. The current problems that we're dealing with the economy and, other issues, do you deal with that in your practice as far as that's a issue?
Yeah. It, it's, it's so hard to keep peace inside yourself and watch the news every day. I mean, like I've found that, right? I've had to turn off the news. I've had to get off Twitter. And I encourage people to do that, So now we're not only dealing with our issues and our family issues and our community issues, we're now hearing all about all this global stuff. And I think when we shifted over to the 24-hour news cycle, I think that was one of the big problems. And same thing with social media. We find our validation through social media. We're getting our news through social media. We're getting our bad news through social media. And I love the access to the information, and it can be too much for us. And taking a news fast, there's so many meditation experts and psychological experts who are like, just turn it off. Know enough to know something, but don't fixate on it. I have clients who they have the news running all day long in the background on the TV. That is so horribly bad for us. First of all, it's assaulting to our senses to have that constant, stimulation. It's also not great for our psyche, for our emotions. We're being fed all of this negative stuff, and it's very hard on us. I think it's really affecting our minds. And going back to the couples thing, if you're constantly being bombarded with all that negativity, it's going to come out somehow and how we treat those people around us. So do a news fast, turn it off for a while, get off the Twitters and the TikTok and the Instagram and whatever else they've, created in the last 5 days that I'm not even aware of yet.
Do you feel like you're making progress with your couples and individuals in your position as a life coach?
Yes, so huge. I got some of the most beautiful messages, on New Year's Day about how much they appreciate me. And I had one couple who was not horrible. I mean, they just needed a couple tune-ups, right? We helped their communication. We helped a couple of their sticking points. I do a lot of work with ego states, which is those different aspects of ourselves. Like we have a work part and a home part and a coach part and a family part, helping get all those parts in alignment, and we trigger each other's parts. So working with couples to not trigger each other and to be gentle and kind with each other when we are having a rough time. I had one couple, I did help them with a couple tweaks, and they're now getting married. They're having a baby. I'm not taking credit for all that, but it's like it was
Right.
enough tweaks that they felt strong enough in their situation to actually move forward with what they wanted in life. So it's very exciting. I love working with my individuals and couples.
Good. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, so having just said turn off social media, I am on social media. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram and Facebook under typically Dr. Kathy Gruver, and it's kathygruver.coach or kathygruver.com for more info. And yeah, there's info there about my speaking, some of my videos. You had mentioned that before we got on the air, you watched my TEDx talk, so that's on there. And then my coaching site tells you everything you need to know about that.
Very good. Dr. Gruver, Kathy, thank you very much for being our first interview. It was very enlightening. And some of the things you were talking about, we've been talking about here off air in weeks past. So I really appreciate the information. Thank you very much. And we certainly hope that you'll take advantage of getting in contact with Dr. Gruver if you do have an issue that would be helped by her assistance. And so please, contact her. You can look her up on, you can Google her, and you can find all sorts of ways to get in contact with her. And so we thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please share it with somebody, because it's very important what we've been talking about. And then also be sure to ring the bell so that you can get notifications in the future. We hope that you have a wonderful new year. This is Mark Sobowitz, live from the Hub Studios with a clarion voice.